to pray. If you don't get to your ancestors, you can't get to God. Okay. So we say if a person is a follower of tradition and the person dies, he dies at a particular time that there will be mourning, people will come to his funeral, people will be at his funeral so that they mourn and then they escort him to the Netherland, the land of the dead. Okay. We call the land of the dead Kiumtinga. The land of the dead is Kiumtinga, and that's where the god Asa is. So we believe that even though you be punished on earth here, if you die too, but take for example, if a lunatic dies, who will perform his funeral? So it means that you already received your punishment here. But if you lived a good life and died, you know the people will perform your funeral, right? Yeah. So that is the reason why we have to adhere to the negative confessions right here on earth. Not worried about dying to go to heaven or hell, but to follow the principles properly here so that you don't be stricken by lightning. Because that is a taboo. You know, in our tradition, if lightning strikes you, they bury you where you're stricken. So the person who's in charge, they call him a rain chaser or a rainmaker. The rain chaser or the rainmaker has the medicine or the particular water, root water, to come and bless the area. And most of the time, when you're stricken by lightning, there's always a live wire there. And if the person doesn't come to take care of it, the wire will not go. The live wire will be there. So when he comes to bless the place, then the wire goes away, the live wire goes away, and then he tells you, just bury the person right there. And nobody cries. Because there's a belief that, I don't want to use the word belief, there's knowledge that if you cry, the lightning will come back. So we don't do it. So you see where I'm going? Sure. It's very difficult for an African traditionalist to start thinking about hell and heaven. They're worried about their position here on earth. On earth. Right.
Yeah. Can I then, from based on what you're saying, let's say if a person is hit by a car, right? Is it because that person was sinning or not fulfilling one of the 42?
We can say that that's what it was.
Okay.
Right. If you're driving your own car and you go and have an accident, a very serious accident, we can consider that.
Okay.
Right.
In terms of Day of Judgment, do you believe that there is a Day of Judgment? And if so, what is the Day of Judgment to you?
The Day of Judgment, we believe in the Day of Judgment. I just gave you the name of the God that administers judgment.
Okay. And what will take place at the Day of Judgment?
The name is Asar.
Asar, okay.
The Day of Judgment, the 42 negative confessions that I gave you, they are called the principles of Ma'at. It's a woman. And that principles of Ma'at brings about all the things that you are not supposed to do on earth. Now, if you appear before the judge, you have to recite all the things that you didn't do, all the 42 of them.
Okay.
Now, they have to take your heart out of your body and weigh it against the feather of an ostrich.
Okay.
And if there's balance, you can enter into the Netherland or the Netherland, the land of the gods.
Okay.
If your heart outweighs the feather, that is going to be the end of you. So when they talk about hellfire, we know about hellfire. But hellfire is a lake, you know, where we have 4 monkeys sitting fanning the fire.
Okay.
So if they weigh your heart and your heart doesn't balance with the feather, your heart is taken and put into that fire. And when that is done, it's given to an animal-like creature called Amit. When Amit eats your heart, that's the end of that is the end of your lifetime.
Finish.
Finish. That is our belief.
You know, religions such as Islam and Christianity and Judaism again follows a book.
Okay.
And a book, and then many different books that try to interpret the meaning of that book,
right?
Whether it's the Bible or Quran or Torah. Do you have such book or books?
In African traditionalism, there's no such book.
Okay.
There's no such book right now in the hands of an African traditionalist.
Okay.
But scholars today have written down, you know, what the structures are and what the prayers are. For example, the Yoruba tradition, you know, they've written their own books, you know, how to say a particular prayer. But that was not written by God. That was not actually assigned by God. It's human. What we as traditionalists have now found out is that we do have some books. But the books were not carried with us to wherever we are residing in Africa today. The books were left in the tombs in ancient Kemet. And when a person like myself, I've been to Egypt and I've gone to the tombs, I've seen certain things. Then when I read the stuff, I say, oh, that's why we do this in the village. But as I indicated earlier, African traditionalism lacks explanatory power because scholars have not actually sat down to, you know, work on it and bring clarification to it because of the propaganda that we received. And most of African clergy just gave up. They were shocked, just shocked as our kings were shocked. Because when you're a defeated person, sometimes you cannot think, and there's no way for you to plan. And that is part of it. But we are now finding out that the book of coming forth from darkness to light in ancient Kemet is our own book. Because when I tell you about the funeral, they do a hymnal. The hymnal, I've discovered that it is in the book of the coming forth from darkness to light. Europeans call it the book of the dead. You know, so in fact, if I just lied to you that right now there's a book in Africa that you can go open and say it's African traditionalism. No, it's not there. But we're going towards retrieving what was ours. You know, especially in ancient Kemet, in Nubia, in Ethiopia, Kush. In fact, if the Ethiopians have not been a conquered country on earth, had tried to spread to the rest of Africa the practices that they do, I could have told you that we have a book. But Ethiopia isolated itself, despite the fact that it wasn't conquered by any country except the 1948 incursion by, you know, Italy. They could have helped, but they did not. Right.
Do you have any introduction to other religions such as Christianity or Islam?
Introduction?
I mean, have you been part of any so-called organized religion such as Islam or Christianity?
Have I been indoctrinated?
Yes.
Oh yes, I was growing up. I went to school. The first thing that you are assigned to is to study Christianity.
Okay.
So we studied Christianity. I studied Christianity in the Catholic faith. Became baptized. Became confirmed. You know, was able to say prayers in Latin. You know, the Dominus vobiscum, ex con spiritu tuo horimos. We did all that. But I grew up to realize that this is not me. This is not me. what I have in a village there is probably superior to this. Most likely, whatever I'm reciting, somebody probably copied it from me. So that's why I went back to traditionalism. And I'm actually verifying that. Right.
So, so as a former indoctrinated Catholic,
right.
So what do you find the most, I mean, the biggest difference between Catholicism and traditional beliefs?
Well, Catholicism and traditional beliefs, what I've discovered that Catholicism or Christianity especially is copied. It's copied. I can tell you this because of the fact that I read St. Augustine's books, one of them, The City of God. And you know, St. Augustine was an archbishop in what is known today as Libya, Hippo. And he refuted most of the things that are in the Bible, especially the Noah's Ark. So, and rising up to educate myself, especially on my own, I come to find out that Christianity came to existence after the conquest of Kemet by Alexander. Or should I say Alexander? Because his name was just Alexander. But he came to Africa and found out that the word great means ah. So if you see my name, Ayin Besa, that is part of it. It's also a determinant for a human being. So Alexander came to Africa and come to a conclusion that he needed to add the ah to his name to become great. So when they say Alexander the Great, it's like tautology. It's like saying Alexander the Great, the Great.
Yeah, okay.
Now, Alexander asked an African priest to write the history and the religion of ancient Kemet for him. And the African priest's name was Maneto. Maneto is actually a Ghanaian name, but there are two names. It's Menu Anto, but they put it together. But when you go back and start to read the Medonetta, the divine speech, you know, the word of God, that I was telling you, who taught us how to read and write, if you read, if you're able to read that writing, you can tell that the name is two, it's not one. Now, Menu Anto wrote the religion for the Greeks, and they went back to Athens, and then they created this religion called Christianity. So Christianity has its antecedents from Africa. So it's basically it's the same traditional religion that has been copied and reintroduced to Africans. Right.
So what do you said is the population of the, currently, the population of the African traditional beliefs practitioners in Africa now?
I can tell you with certainty that over 300 million Africans practice African traditionalism.
In Africa now?
Yes.